Hello, hello. Welcome to Thriving Thursday. And I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about difficult conversations. One thing in my life is that I experienced a lot of conflict, in your face conflict, loud, aggressive, maybe intense conflict starting at a very young age. And so I've been kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the right word, but it doesn't bother me to be around conflict, essentially, because I've been indoctrinated to it. And then again, you follow what you know, right? And so then when bad circumstances and difficulties showed up in my life, well, I adopted the same pattern because that's all I knew. I didn't know any other way to handle difficulty, arguments, or disagreements. And that didn't help either. But as I learned about boundaries, that was the first step, is learning boundaries. And I also had to learn codependency, because coming from a family with alcoholism in the past, so I have not personally lived in a family with an alcoholic, but the pattern was there. And so you have all this baggage, right, that you need to overcome, and you don't know what you don't know. And so anyways, what I've been able to do through my life is to actually turn conflict into one of my strengths. And the reason that I can use it as a strength, the reason why it has become a strength, is because I'm not afraid of conflict. And once I learned and had the experience, this was a huge learning thing. So what happened was conflict blew up, and it just happened all around me, and it was intense and in your face and loud. But then there was no repair of the relationship afterwards, and we were all supposed to live happily ever after, like that had never happened. And we're supposed to still love, care for, and adore all of our family members, whether or not they said hurtful things or did hurtful things. You're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to draw attention to it, and you're not allowed to ever speak about it again. So that's a disconnect, right? That's a disconnect in the relationship. And so that's another thing that I had to get over, which is it's okay to have conflict and scream and yell at each other, but also it's just normal to have disconnect and not repair your relationship afterwards. Once I got over all that, so now I actually view conflict as a skill that I can utilize to specifically improve relationships and help others grow, because it's not a fear. And once you learn, so the patterns, I guess, is number one, you have to learn to get over the fear, recognize that you have a fear, accept it, and then learn to go through the fear to the other side, where you can have healthy conflict. So healthy conflict helps you to actually improve your relationships, to strengthen them, and to deepen the relationship. And you can be a leader in that. Okay, so that's where I've been. That's where I've become a leader, and you have used this and notice it as a strength. And so there's a few different models that you can use. The first one that I use is from Crucial Conversations. This is a really good book. I've listened to it. I have it on Audible, and I also have obviously spent a lot of time in the written book. Also, it's highlighted and marked up. Sometimes I listen to Audible and read the book with it or follow along. But they use state in here, so you can look that up, which is how to, I mean, this is a really good book in general. So you can use that model for conflict. And so managing conflict, having the conversation, the premise of it is to, I don't know if I'm using state incorrectly. I think it is. Start with heart. Yeah, it's state. So start with heart. And so a lot of the formulas and the models are going to be similar in the sense. And this one I have is from Dr. Townsend. They're very similar. And so start with heart. That means is sharing yourself and your love for the other person. And Dr. Townsend says, start with a for you stance. So anytime you're having a difficult conversation, you want to make it known to the other person, and you can use the, I call it the sandwich, which is the compliment sandwich. I can't remember the exact name of it, but you use you say something good, and then you give the bad feedback, and then you go back to something good, and it's got to be authentic and true. So you start with them. What do I love about them? What do I appreciate about them? What do you do really, really well? And what are you awesome at? And so I want you to win. I want you to know how much I care about you. So there's your heart for them, right? And then state the challenging behavior or the situation, and you make it about the behavior, not how you feel or your emotions or your response to it. It's literally being hard on the behavior and soft on the person. Okay. So you want to protect their heart and you want to protect that relationship. So the behavior, the thing that happened is the challenging part. Okay. And then own your own part in it. Okay. So where did you go wrong? Where did you mess up? How are you involved? Right? It's not just you, it's also me. So be truthful, authentic, and vulnerable with them about how you're involved. And then allow the other person to share their side. And that's a big part of these models, which is you get to give them an opportunity to share their side of the story. What is their viewpoint? What did they feel? And you want to be careful, not because they might start blaming or get defensive or respond not well. So you want to be careful, but you also want to hear them out. They might have really valuable input that you can use to strengthen your relationship. And so one thing is the insight as to why they did that or why they said what they said. They will share the insight as to what they were thinking. And that's useful to you. So if you look at it as far as it's not stating your case, but it's sharing your side and inviting them to share theirs, and then accepting that input and seeing the value of that input that they're sharing to improving and heightening and strengthening that relationship. Okay, and then be very specific about what you want to be changed or altered in the future. Now, sometimes if you're talking about marriage or kids, possibly there may not be a change that you want, work related, but there might be a change. A lot of times there might be a change if you're having that difficult conversation. It's just a relational thing, but that's that boundary piece and it's holding them accountable. So let's say it's your child and they're not doing well in school again. And you go through the formula and you say, okay, this is what I want to happen because of this conversation. So after this conversation, I want you to come home every day after school. You have 30 minutes to relax, and then you start your homework. So 30 minutes off, and then 30 minutes later, you start your homework and you don't stop until it's finished. And then you bring it to me and we will talk about it and discuss it. Okay, so that's one very specific change. You get 30 minutes to recover from the day, and then you start your homework and we're going to go over it together. So if there's, if it's necessary, you can have consequences. If that doesn't happen, here's what I'm going to have to do because you did not adjust your behavior accordingly. And then you want to end with them. Like, what do you want for them? How is your heart for them? What is your heart for them? What do you want for them? How do you care for them? What do you desire for them? Right? And so that's basically healthy confrontation, having a difficult conversation, and your calmness and your reduction in anxiety and stress is going to benefit the other person. Because when you come into a difficult conversation calm, collected, prepared, and you know what you need to talk about, and you don't revert from the them to making it all about you, you are going to strengthen, deepen, and enhance all of your relationships. So I hope that helps. I would love to hear some stories about how you have been able to take a difficult conversation and turn it into an unbelievable experience that created deeper connection between you and another person. So I wish you all the best. Go live your life of abundance.